And so we thought it'd be a real pleasure and an opportunity. Why don't you go ahead and sit there? I'll sit here. Yeah, that's great. To hear from, I know it's very bright. Sorry about that.
Your mic is live.
Hear from someone who has been through the journey, through the process. To hear about what, in this case, multiple myeloma was like, but also ultimately CAR T therapy. And from the perspective of someone who has been through that journey. So Gary, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be with you all. Actually, I just came from 5 hours.
You were just today at...
I was just at Mass General from 12 to 5 o'clock, and it's just getting oriented here.
Yeah?
So if I'm not totally up to speed here, understand that. Okay, so you want me to...
We'd love to hear
Okay.
whatever you want to tell us. So tell us a little bit about the journey from the beginning, if you don't
From
mind.
the beginning, yes. Well, 2 months before I... Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Hold that mic,
2 months before I came down with cancer, or diagnosed with multiple myeloma, that was March 2016. I was bump skiing at Whiteface Mountain. I've been a long-term skier for 60 years or whatever. And so I had the mountain to myself. I skied for 5 hours and up and down, up and down, up and down. And so one of my last runs, I kind of hit my side a little bit, just to hit the snow, but kind of bounced back. It was really nothing. But when I got back to the hotel room, I noticed, Jesus, I didn't feel well. You know, I started some pain in my side, and I had a restless night's sleep. And for the first time ever, I called my wife and said, you know, I don't think I can ski today, the next day, you know. I said, I'm going to have to come home. Shortly, once I returned, went to a doctor to check me out, did an x-ray, and found nothing on the x-ray. And in fact, I had my annual physical 2 months before, and it was perfect, nothing wrong. And he said, oh, you're just one of those weekend warriors who, you know, probably did too much at 71 years old. You know, so it didn't do much with it, but every day, every week, it got worse and worse and worse. And from that initial indication, 2 months later, my neighbor guy helped get me to the car because I couldn't walk. And 2 days before that, I did get an MRI, and it said I had multiple myeloma. So I was admitted, and it started the standard regime, RVD, and it worked remarkably well. In 4 months, there was almost no evidence that I had the cancer. And at that point, being new to this whole process where I'd never taken drugs, there nothing wrong with me my whole life, I said, you stop the treatment. You know, you solved the problem for now. And of course, my oncologist in Weill Cornell didn't think that was a great idea. But I said, well, I'm running my life, you know. And so for 2 years, it did fine. And then it started to come back toward the end of the third year, maybe 33 months, where they put me on daratumumab as the lead drug. And that also was successful, lasted for about 3 years. But, you know, these drugs have a funny way of affecting your life, right? They have dexamethasone, you know, what that does, I think. Daratumumab, so Velcade, all these have their side effects. So you're not only dealing with the cancer, but you're dealing in the unknown with the cancer. You just don't know. This is, as you all know, I think you know, this is not a cancer that's curable, right? The best they can do is contain it, you know, within certain limits, and so it doesn't get worse. What I didn't mention to you, when I was checked into the hospital, they did an MRI, and I think they also did something else. So they found out that I had 20 bone breaks in my torso, including 5 compression fractures. What I didn't know is, and my wife pointed that out in front of a mirror in the bathroom one day, that I was as tall as she was now. Instead of being 5'10" and a half, I was 5'6". So that was sort of, for a male, that was a little unsettling. Maybe anybody might be unsettled by that, but I was. So that was kind of like a shock. But, you know, you have these shocks along the way. I think I had been an athlete all my life, and maybe that had something to do with why I'm still talking to you. I was a long-distance runner for 40 years. I excellent skier. I always kept myself in shape in tennis and other sports. And also, if you know anything about long-distance running, you get used to being uncomfortable. And so being uncomfortable was a way of life for me, at least for a period of the time. Yeah. So I guess in that sense, I'm a little unusual. Anyway, getting back, so after the 3 years, I started with daratumumab. I said that lasted for about almost 3 years. And then that, again, no longer was working. And then I found out I had the 1114 gene. And that allowed me a translocation gene, and they had been successful leukemia patients, and they thought that it might have some efficacy with myeloma, which it did. It actually kept my cancer in check for another 18 months, which was, I was thankful. You know, we get something. So that was the third treatment.
Gary, can I just stop you right there just for 1 second?
Yeah.
Just so I can make sense of the timeline. So May 2016, or no, 2016,
Yeah, May 2016.
you were diagnosed. Then you went through a series of therapies that put you into temporary remission for 3 years each?
Almost 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. And
So March of 2019.
19?
Yeah.
And then there was another, so that was the RVD?
Yeah.
And then there was another set of therapies that put you in remission for another 3 years, or no?
Almost 3.
Almost 3, okay. So
And then the next one.
we're learning, I'm learning as we go, about this sort of management, this process with myeloma in particular, where it's sort of never quite cured or never quite, you get a complete response, but you're always expecting it to come back at some point.
You know, they have categories on this, you know, how well you're doing. Good response, a very good response. Well, undetectable, you could call it remission, you know. Minimum residual disease. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. MRD, I never achieved that. So just trying to keep it in check, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, I think it was May of this year, you received CAR T therapy.
Yeah.
When did you hear about, at what point in the journey did you hear about cell therapy, that was an option? And
A couple years before that, Dr. Rajay, who's my lead oncologist, said, you know, you should start thinking about it. And I love that word, don't you, phrase? Thinking about it? Yeah. I said, okay, I'll think about it. Yeah. But I did have, you know, before that, before the venetoclax that I had.
Okay.
After that, I had, that's what I wanted to, I brought the sheet up. To finish the picture quickly, I started Cryopolis in September 2023, and that lasted for, and stopped March 4th, 2025. That was followed by Pomalyst, that lasted until November 24th. And then they put me on daratumumab, another version, because it had been a number of years since I had taken daratumumab, and they thought it might actually you know, work as a bridge therapy to CAR T, keeping it in check. Well, it didn't keep it in check.
When your doctor mentioned CAR T therapy to you,
Yeah.
was it something that you were aware of? Is it, you know?
Well, it's in the literature, you know, and the conferences they talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
but it was not really on the radar screen for me. I was
Sounds a bit like science fiction when you first hear about it.
Yeah. It would be considered science fiction a few years ago.
Yeah.
The CAR T, what they don't tell you and what they do tell you is always interesting. It's really a
Welcome to medicine, I think. Yeah.
I found out, okay, yeah, and I said it was time. She strongly recommended it. So she got me on the list and scheduled for me to go in and, was it March? Yeah, March this year, right? To start scheduling, and they took my T cells out and modified them. The first go around, it didn't work, by the way, as my cancer was increasing, because my numbers really, as I said, the daratumumab mix was supposed to be a bridge therapy, but it wasn't working. So now things got interesting, right? Because if I didn't get the second batch working, well, I don't think I would qualify because it had gone too far. Fortunately, it was fine, and on May 23rd, I got the infusion of the CAR T for 30 minutes.
Right.
That was the easiest part of the journey, I must say. So I was in the hospital for 10 days. They were obviously watching me carefully for side effects. CRS, I think it's called, and neurotoxicity are the big ones, And I came through it very well. They had in Mass General this A-shaped floor plan where they had turned it into a marathon run. You go around 7 times for 1 mile, and you do that. I was there for 8 days, 11 days, but in 8.5 days I was able to do the marathon, running around, walking around the place with my poles.
I think the first picture I saw of you was in a marathon kit in the hospital with all the nurses.
So I had this,
It's your bib, your medal. Yeah.
Yeah, my medal. And 8 or 9 lovely nurses behind me smiling me on. I was quite happy. You know how guys are, no matter how old they are.
Right. So May 2025. So this is, 5 or 6 months ago?
Yeah.
And how are you feeling today?
About average. I just said I had dexamethasone this afternoon. And had IVIG. You all know about IVIG. There's a build up your immune system. One of the things living with cancer is that for me, because the number of bone breaks I had, I live with chronic pain, probably a 2, something like that, sometimes 3 or 4. And so that's kind of a baseline. And also because of the compression fractions, it restricted my breathing to some degree. Not that it affects me like, hopefully I'm not affecting our talk here, but if my ability to, I can't run anymore. So it's your breathing is compromised. That's permanent. And then, the drugs you're just physically constantly changing, in terms of your energy level, your ability to be present in conversation too, particularly when the pain gets a little tougher. Your ability to focus is tough mentally, right? I mean, all your energy goes to your pain rather than your consciousness. So that's part of the situation. But having said all that, I just feel like for some reason the gods have blessed me to be here with you for 9 years. And I would also say to you that, somebody who had never been sick or injured or anything, having this cancer has, you might have concerns about people's problems that they have health-wise and everything. It's hard to empathize with them when it's just an intellectual understanding of their situation. But when you have something like I have, it puts you in a different connection with people who also struggle in life. As I said, I had a empathy recession recessive gene, but it got activated under cancer.
I've recently read a memoir by a multiple myeloma patient who received Carvykti, I think, and he talked about cancer. The guy's called Jonathan Gluck, and he's a journalist. Talks about cancer being a family disease and the impact on caregivers as well as the people who are affected by cancer. I think your wife Meg's here.
Yeah,
and
she is.
You guys have been married, I've been told, 44 years.
44 years, yeah.
Which is aspirational for all of us. But the impact wasn't only on you, obviously, it was on your family as well.
I can tell you 2 months after I got cancer, it was so stressful at the beginning, as you can imagine. They had to put a hospital bed in our condo, where not too far from the bathroom, and it was only like 20 feet. To get out of the car and to pee in the middle of the evening was a Herculean task, right? Just doing simple things. And Meg had to help me with the shower. I couldn't even get in the shower. It was tough going for months before I was able to gradually build myself back, But then after 6 months, I was on my bike again, and, playing some golf and doing stuff like that. So getting back to Meg, she, Meg is somewhat a type A person, and she married one too. And so whenever she takes on something, she does it 100% plus, right? And so, dots every I and crosses every T and just on top of it. And that puts a lot of stress, right, on the person, and because she feels responsible as the caretaker. And frankly, after about 2 months, I became more concerned about her than and she was concerned about me, because I didn't know if she could continue taking on that role.
Right.
And now, 3-4 years later, right, or 9 years later, she's again in this position to do this. And of course, we're older now, right, further. So it's also been a very tough challenge for her. And, I'm going to nominate her for sainthood, Not that I have any power over these matters, but,
Sounds like she should at least be considered. There she is. Would you want to sit next to your husband, or would you like to sit?
Well, I could sit here.
Would you like to weigh in on this topic?
He did leave a few things out.
We're gonna get the real scoop now. I think.
Well, one thing is he really is unusual. I've declared many times he's from Mars, because his body of an 80-year-old, he really has been an athlete. Right now he's riding his bike 20 miles, swims 30 laps, and golfs
40 laps.
Really good golf.
Let's get it right back.
Thank you, Gary. But saying to a technical audience, he wouldn't be here except for these changes. He was told when he collapsed he'd have 5 years. And we knew people who had died in 5 years.
A year.
And then you keep coming up with incredible discoveries, and we keep hearing about them as they start to become available to us. And we'd heard about CAR T and bispecifics, and the side effects looked so dreadful that we kept wanting to put that off. But you start running out of choices. So, and we kept asking for data, and then they say, well, you would ask for data. And they say, well, you are the data.
We're generating it right now as we speak, yeah.
So it put us in an interesting position trying to get information. I think that's one of the hardest things as patients. I found out and really got it that if you don't have a caregiver who's healthy and alert, I'm 83, he's 80, it's questionable our age to be doing this. And if you don't have a caregiver, you don't get to do it. And you're running out of options. So that was interesting. And then the other thing is you're supposed to be positive. Well, then they give you the list of all of cytokine
Cytokine release syndrome and all
and
the other things.
neurotoxicity.
All the other things that can go wrong. Yeah.
And that somebody had gotten in their 70s, I think, and died with late onset Parkinson's. And I'm going,
Oh boy.
this started last March. So for 6 months, I've been trying to be positive and watch him for all these side effects, which is great for a marriage.
Marital bliss. That's, yeah.
I'm not 5 years old, babe.
We get a snapshot into the home life right now, maybe.
Yeah, we're kind of verbal. Anyway, this was my second marriage. His first, we've been together a long time, and it was all predicated. We kind of had our lives, and we did our things, and a lot of sports. So this has been quite a journey. He's learned empathy. The 3 months before he collapsed, I was diagnosed with celiac. I can't eat gluten. It really makes me sick. And he can eat anything. It's really awkward for traveling. So anyway, we're here, and this is a highly unusual opportunity for us to express yourself. And I got acknowledged.
Thank you for joining us. Please stay. If I can ask you both, just in a final thought, a final moment, after all this kind of hard-earned perspective that you've gained over the last 9 years, what have you learned about yourselves, about living with a disease, about making the most of the opportunities you have? I mean, any words of wisdom, those of us in the room who work in this field do so, and stories like yours really inspire us to keep going when things get hard. And any words of wisdom that you could care to share with this audience about, just from your perspective, having gone through it?
I would say you got to choose life, and you got to not let your conditions, worldly or bodily conditions, dictate what you do. You decide what you're going to do. You go into yourself and you make a commitment to yourself how you will proceed. And it's not about survival so much as it's an opportunity for you to be with yourself and manage your internal conversations and become bigger than you ever known yourself to be. And that's an incredible opportunity, much larger than any other opportunity I've ever had in my life, where I was able to expand who I am and how I'm being in the world in the way would never have happened without getting this cancer. So I'm very grateful for that. And I don't regret one moment of, or I'm not at all, why me kind of conversation? No, why not me? And I'm glad I could be part of something that's bigger than me and be able to perhaps contribute to science. And so that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much. Would you like to have the last word? Anything you want to
Well, in the marriage vows is for the sickness and health thing. And I was never sure. In fact, a lot of my friends weren't sure how I would ever deal with anything like this. They were kind of taking bets. So it was amazing opportunity. I hate to say that, but it really is, especially at this stage of life. A lot of my friends, as you get older, they start to pass on. And it really has been an extraordinary opportunity. Although when we met, we both meditated for about 50 years now, and I did Tai Chi for 40 years. And you've had spiritual practices for a long time, and they really do help as navigating just old age, much less illness, and seeing what's really of value and letting the rest drop off. Which means I kept painting and writing during this and got a book out of it, actually. He was my muse.
Can you join me in thanking Gary and Meg for joining us? Thank you so much. I'm glad you came up. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.